Squirrel here, and today we're going to go over the process of accessioning a book into the Squirrel Island Library. So this process has 4 parts. First, we need to categorize the book, then we mark the book, then we accession to the digital catalog, and finally we accession the book to our physical catalog. So today we're going to be working with this book, Going to Maine, All the Ways to Fall on the Appalachian Trail by Sally Charfin Brooks. We're going to start at the very beginning by figuring out where in the library this book goes. Sometimes you can look at a book and it will say something like a novel or a biography right on the title or right on the cover. But we always want to be checking to make sure we're assuming correctly. For instance, many books that are actually young adult look like junior fiction, or many junior fiction books look like young adult, and it's important that we keep those two collections distinct and that we're putting books in the right section because those books are written for different age readers. And sometimes you'll have a book that looks like a picture book, but it's actually junior nonfiction. So it's always important that we're checking to make sure we're correct by cross-checking our assumptions with a catalog called MaineCat, which is a repository of all the libraries in the state of Maine. So let's head over to MaineCat and check how we're going to catalog this book in the Squirrel Island Library. To reach MaineCat, we're going to go to maincat.maine.edu. And when we reach this page, we're simply going to click Go to MaineCat in the upper right-hand corner. This is our home page. This is MaineCat. It's a digital repository of all of the libraries in the state of Maine. So we're going to check our assumptions about how to catalog this book against what every other library in the state is doing to catalog this book. So we're going to put in part of our title, Going to Maine, All the Ways to Fall on the Appalachian Trail, and we're going to search. We don't need to put in the full title exactly, and we can also add items from the subtitle or author information in order to help narrow down the search. In this case, Going to Maine is enough. We find this book, Going to Maine, All the Ways to Fall on the Appalachian Trail by Sally Charfin Brooks. It pops right up, and we're going to click on that title. This is a list of all of the public libraries in the state of Maine that have this book in their collection. And we're going to see how other libraries catalog this book in order to emulate the expertise and agreement of librarians across the state. In this case, it looks like there's some disagreement. Some libraries, like the Auburn Public Library, are categorizing this as a biography. But it looks like most libraries are putting this in nonfiction, somewhere in the 796 section. We have this number 796 popping up a lot. We have it over here. Harris and Patton and Portland are all putting this book somewhere in the 796 section, 796, 796. It looks like categorizing this book as nonfiction and assigning it the call number 796.51 is the general agreement of librarians across the state of Maine. So that's what we're going to do. If we want to ensure that what we're doing is correct, or we're just curious about the call number we've assigned the book, we can go to this website, LibraryThing, and we can go to www.librarything.com/MDS, which stands for the Melvin Decimal System, which will help us figure out exactly how we're categorizing this book. In this case, we've chosen the call number 796.51. So we can just go through this table to see what exactly that means. 7 is for arts and recreation, 9 is for sports, games, and entertainment, and 6 puts us in athletic and outdoor sports. It looks like 796.5 is outdoor leisure, and 796.51 is backpacking, walking, and hiking, which is exactly what this book, a memoir about the author's experience hiking the Appalachian Trail, is about. So we know that 796.51 is an appropriate categorization for this book. So that's what we'll assign as our call number. Now that we've properly classified our book, it's time to add the stickers and markings that will identify this book as a member of our collection. We're going to start by adding a sticker to the first page. Most of the time we use this sticker that says Squirrel Island Library. We also have separate stickers that have a place to mark who the book was a gift of, if the book was added to our collection as a gift. So we're going to open the title page and add the sticker in a way that does not obscure the title or the author information. Excellent. Now we need to move to the back cover, and we need to add a book pocket that contains a book card that has a checkout card, both of which will have the information for the title and the author. So we're going to take one card and put it in the pocket, and on both the card and the pocket, we're going to write some information. In the upper right-hand corner of each, we're going to add the classification information. For instance, F for fiction, B for biography, YA for young adult. In this instance, we're going to add the call number of the book because it's nonfiction. So we're going to write the call number, 796.51. 796.51. Then we're going to add the author with the last name first. So we're going to write Brooks, Sally, Chaffin on both the card and the pocket. Then we're going to write the full title of the book, including any subtitles. On the pocket, we'll write the entire title with the complete subtitle. On the card, we'll just write as much as we can. Now that that's done, we're going to stick the pocket into the back of the book by removing the adhesive and sticking it to the back page low enough that we have space at the top for our next step, which is adding a stamp that says Squirrel Island Library and the year of accession. So we're going to take our stamp, we use black ink, and hopefully we don't open it backwards like I just did. I like to roll the stamp from the bottom to the top because otherwise some of the top sometimes doesn't print properly. This isn't a perfect stamp, but that's okay. Our next step is to add the year of accession in pen inside the sticker. So we're going to write 2025 because that is the year we added this book to our collection. This is helpful so that we know when books are accessioned, when we're doing some shelf reading, or so we know whether to put it on the new fiction or the new nonfiction shelf or not. Great. The last step is to add a spine marking. Not all books get spine markings. For instance, adult fiction has a blank spine, but this is nonfiction. So we are going to add the Dewey Decimal call number to the spine along with the first 3 letters of the author's last name so that when a future librarian is shelving the book, they have an easy way to look along the shelf and make sure everything is in order. We have some pre-made spine stickers for certain genres, but for this nonfiction book, we're going to have to make our own. We're going to take a blank sticker, we're going to write the call number and the first 3 letters of the author's last name. So we'll write 796.51 and BRO, the first 3 letters of the author's last name. Now we're going to add this to the spine of our book. And secure it by adding a clear plastic sticker protector right on top. Great, now our book has all the physical markings it needs to identify it as an item of the Squirrel Island Library and to make our physical checkout system work. We'll move on to the next step, which is adding our book to the physical catalog. Just kidding. Our next step is actually going to be to add the book to the digital catalog. So we're going to come into our software over here, click to open up our catalog, and go to the right-hand side to click Add to add a new item to our catalog. We're going to go into the title field and, capitalize the title correctly. And we're going to add the entire title, including all the subtitles of the book. This way, if a patron is looking for books that include the words Appalachian Trail in the title because they're interested in reading about the Appalachian Trail, this book will pop up when we search by title because it includes that information in the title. Then we add the author with the first name last. And similarly, if we had an article at the beginning of our title, we would add the article at the end of the title separated by a comma. We don't have that in this case, so we're just going to leave it as it is. Then we add the publisher, the published, which means year of publication, and the place information to our entry. So for instance, we're going to look at the first page of the book, and it looks like this book was published by Running Wild Press, which is based in New York in 2024. So we're going to add Running Wild Press 2024 in our year of publication in New York. And in the category field, we put our classification information. For instance, YA for young adult, or fiction for adult fiction. In this case, we're going to add 796.51, our Dewey Decimal information. And that's it. Now we save and close, and we see that our new entry pops up right in our digital catalog, shelved near books like Into Thin Air and the LL Bean Guide to the Outdoors. So we know that that was an appropriate categorization for this book, and now here it is, saved in our digital catalog forever. Finally, we're going to add this book to the physical catalog by writing 2 physical catalog cards for each book. One to alphabetize by title and one to alphabetize by author. So one with the title listed first and one with the author listed first. There are several elements to each of these cards. The most important is the upper left-hand corner, where we're going to put the categorization of the book. For instance, once again, YA for young adult, JF for junior fiction, the letter F for fiction. In this case, again, we have a nonfiction book, so we're going to add the call number of the book, 796.51. Then, on one of these cards, we're going to write the author's last name, followed by the title. And on the other, we're going to write the title, followed by the author's last name. And on both, we're going to add the publication data at the bottom in the form city of publication, colon, press, comma, year. So here is what those 2 cards are going to look like when they're done. Here's the one with the author first. Again, in that upper left-hand corner, we have the classification, the Dewey Decimal number, and at the bottom, we have the publication information. And here's the other with the author's last name first, followed by the title. They both have the publication information and the classification in the upper left-hand corner. This is what a patron is going to look at when they want to know where on the shelf this book is shelved and where in the library they can find it. Our last step is to take these cards and carry them over to our physical card catalog and add them to the catalog so that they can always be found by patrons. On the top, we have in the top half, we'll put the card with the author's last name, and in the bottom half, where we have our books alphabetized by title, we'll put the books by title. So we would go over here, find our shelf with all our books with titles that begin with G and H, and add our card to the physical card catalog. Now that we've classified our book, added it to the physical catalog, added it to the digital catalog, and ensured that it has all the markings needed to identify it as a Squirrel Island Library book, and ensure that our check-in and check-out process can work smoothly, we are all done. This book is ready to go to the new nonfiction shelf at the front of the desk. Next year, it will be moved to last year's nonfiction, and eventually it will be shelved in nonfiction with other books with similar call numbers. That is all the steps. Good luck, have fun, and happy accessioning.